Happy Friday, everybody. It is your buddy Choppadon coming at you with MLB Rundown for August 21st. Friday. Welcome in. Thank you very much for all of you guys that hit the like and subscribe button down there at the bottom that also become VIPs based off of these videos. I love helping you guys. I love coaching you guys. I love talking to new guys and getting you guys put on the right track all the time. If you notice, we've been killing nickels lately. I don't play, dollars, $5, whatever, when I MME. I play small stuff, but I enjoy it, and I can help any one of you guys do the exact same thing. I just went down and tracked my percentages recently in the last, say, 650 contests. I've been in the top 1% 16 times, the top 2% 4 times, 5 times, 3%, 8 times, etc. Bottom line is, when you're building top 1% lineups more than 1% of the time, you're doing the right things. I'm in there about 3.5%, 4% of the time. I'm in the top 20% about 26, 27% of the time. So that is the mark of a profitable player, and that basically is just using the tools that we have at dfsarmy.com. So if you want to become a VIP, it's very, very simple. Click the link at the bottom in the comment section down there. Use coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P. Get that 20% off discount. And, of course, like and subscribe to the videos while you're down there. I'd love to have you. I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to show you what it is that I do. In fact, I'll show you yesterday's exposures. We had a pretty good day yesterday. Easy adage for MLB. Down on the chalk, up on the low-owned stuff. It is the most contrarian sport out there. It's the easiest to be the most contrarian in, and it's the most rewarding for being contrarian, in my opinion. So, because it happens more often. The chalk fails all the time, and the contrarian stuff hits more often. So it makes it a lot easier for you to be successful if you're a little willing to go against the grain and get out of your comfort zone. The way we do that is we set up with the MLB research station at dfsarmy.com. You'll notice the New York Yankees and Mets games is missing because on FanDuel it's not on the main slate. On Draftkings it is. So it looks like we're looking at FanDuel stuff today. Not that it really matters. You may find that you like Yankees and Mets. I wouldn't be opposed to taking shares of them. But on a giant 12 and 13 game slate like we have today, you're going to really have to take some stands. This isn't one of those things where you're really going to be able to get 1 and 2% of everybody. Because if you did, you're only going to be able to get 8 or 10% of the teams that you really, really like. If you want to get upwards of 15, 20, 25% of the 3 or 4 teams that you really, really like, then you're going to have to cut out some of the bottom feeders. You know, your Pittsburghs, Detroits, other teams like that. So let's dive in. Let's find the teams that we might want to focus on and the teams that we might want to avoid if we have to. We scroll over the starting pitching tab here and we sort by K-score first, just because I like to look at which pitchers have the potential. Say that 5 times fast. Cool, Ray, Nola, Bueller, whatever. These are guys that should be popping in my optimizer. When they do, I'll be happy. If some of these guys down here are popping like crazy, I need to either look more into them or just kind of uncheck them and move on. I don't want to see a lot of Danny Duffy, let's put it that way. Now, I'm not seeing anybody that I'd really like to put any kind of boost in the exposure on. You know, nobody popped to the top that I'd really, really like to see there. So when I sort W score by ascending order to push the crap to the bottom, now these are the 2 sections I focus on for those of you that don't know. W score, all of the pink guys, they show me who I should be targeting. And then I'll look at this section over here, the pitcher stats over the past season and a half, and I'm looking for a lot of reds. I'm looking for a lot of pinks. I'm looking for no green, really. So these bottom 4 guys are pretty good. I might avoid Haney a little bit. Lester, cool, a little bit, whatever. I might come up here to McCullers, although I'm not really targeting him this year. I look at these Sierra numbers, too. Some of these high Sierra guys might be an interesting spot. The home run per 9 is a stat that I love to watch. Walk per 9 leads to crooked numbers. So if you've got both a high Sierra and a high walk per 9, like say a Dakota Hudson, you might be somebody that walks a few guys and then gives up a bomb and a crooked number hits the board. So these are guys that I look for. If they're facing a high-powered offense, I'm more inclined to go ahead and stack them. But generally, I'm focused on these bottom 4 guys. So, Cleveland, Texas, Houston, Dodgers. Chalky, right? Look at Texas. Texas is facing a pretty bad pitcher here. Seattle's also giving up a lot of runs as a team. So this is a really, really good spot. Texas might get overlooked. Cleveland might get a little overlooked tonight. People will find the Astros. They will find the Dodgers. They probably will find some of these other teams up in here. But these couple of teams down in here that might go lower owned. See, like if Dodgers and Houston end up being relatively chalky, then I'm probably going to fade them down on my exposures. Instead of taking a 20% stack, I might take 10% or 8% or something like that. But if Cleveland or Texas slide under the radar and they do not look like they're going to be very highly owned, and we have a leverage stacks tool that does that for you at dfsarmy.com, then I'm going to up my exposure and I might take 25% of these guys because I really want to get in there if they have a good night. It looks like they should have a good night. I come over to the batting tab. I do the same basic thing. I sort by W score. I'm going to pick up the pace here because we're going to end up talking a little bit about exposures last night. I sort by descending order. And I see some numbers up at the top here. Pretty big numbers. Like I said, 600 to 580-ish, about the number I look for. But I see a lot of Detroit up top, interesting, as the opponent. That's very interesting. So maybe Detroit's a team that we should be stacking, right? That was with Cleveland down here at the bottom of this tab, right? Detroit opponent is Cleveland. That's a little bit more like it. Reyes, yeah, look at the names. They're obviously on Cleveland. I'm looking at the wrong column here. Cleveland would be one that I'd be looking for. It doesn't look Milwaukee, Minnesota, Dodgers. Doesn't look like anybody else is really popping. This is one team that we should definitely be focused on. I would have also been looking for Texas. If I scroll down a little bit, maybe I don't see a lot of Texas in there. So as a stack, that's really interesting. They may be underpriced. They may make for a great big stack, and then you can use some chalk like the Dodgers or Astros in a smaller stack and go 5x2, 4x3, something like that might make sense. But we're going to go position by position. We're going to cut out, see who the best catchers are. Looking over here at Chop Shop and DFSA score again, DFSA W score, I should say. Maybe the top couple of guys. So Perez, Narvaez, maybe a Vasquez. A lot of Ez's in there, huh? Come over to first base. These are names I'd be writing down. Pause the video if you have to and write these names down. This number needs to update. There we go. Down to 600. Pretty deep position today. Down to 600. Down to Gurriel, Smoke, Bell, Sano, Slater, Double E, Brad Miller. Those are names I'd probably be popping in my optimizer. Again, I'm boosting their projections. I'll show you that in a minute. Wilmer Flores, of course. Down to, well, Odor, maybe Muncy, Altuve. Ramirez, Bryant, maybe Rendon, Seager, Frazier types, right? All that W score means is these are guys that hit for a decent WOBA and are facing a pitcher that tends to give up WOBA. It's kind of a green light on green light situation. Now, shortstop, top three guys, Correa, Anderson, Tatis, maybe Bogarts. I'm always going to include that next guy below the line just because I feel like I don't want to draw a real hard line in the sand. Now this should be a deep position being it's outfield, and we've got a lot of guys to look at down to 600 here. Peterson and up. Yaz, Peterson, Bellinger, Pence, Springer, Trout, Martinez, Yelich, Cruz, Gallo, DeShields, Leplo, Mercado, Santana, Reyes. So, and Reyes with the top W score on the slate today. It looks like at 992. That's pretty strong. I've seen some over 1,000, but it's pretty rare. It means you're running up against a pretty bad pitcher. So now that we've got all those written down, what do? We go into the domination station. Is this one Draftkings or FanDuel? FanDuel, last night's slate, these were all the lineups, and I'll show you what I did. Had 100 lineups built, tournament mode, server, speed, 49, 50% randomness. There was no, I just slid it over. Wherever it dropped is where it dropped. I went into the MLB team stacking. I actually used control stacking on FanDuel. That's what I tend to do. I had 2% Pittsburgh, 8% Cleveland, 10% LA, 4% Minnesota. See, I've got most of these teams set at these different percentages. The teams that I like more, Baltimore, San Francisco, I'm putting more weight on. Out of 100 lineups, it's going to give me about 14 San Francisco stacks, 16 Baltimore stacks in my big 4 stack. I didn't use the other side. I don't like double stacking this way. If the projections give me a 2 stack, 3 stack on the other side, that's great. It did a few times. Mostly it's one-offs. And this number doesn't even really add up to 100% because I like it when it builds me some 3x2s, 2x2x2s, stuff like that. Those have shots at winning on FanDuel as well, where chasing home runs and price seems to be more important because you can get bigger bats in your lineups than over on DraftKings. I also went down position by position, and you can see the guys that I put the smiley face on. I put 15% boosts on guys that were on my list that I just read off to you, okay? And these guys, when they have good nights, some nights I will put exposures on them. Like Renato Nunez had great BVP against the guy he was facing. So I put 15% minimum exposure on him. I don't mind if he's not going to be in 100% of my lineups. When I scroll down after running it several times, I come down here and I can see who I am the highest on for the night. Devers, Trout, Santander, Bieber, Nunez, Bellinger, Flores, whatever. You can see why I ended up on Bieber. It's because I put 20%. I was getting 40% Kershaw. I pivoted down to 20% Kershaw, getting under the field a smidge, and that gave me a ton of Bieber. And Bieber at 31% got me over the field on Bieber, which gave me leverage if he had a good night, which he did. Turns out they all had good nights, but you can see where I'm going with that. And then I can check my team exposures really quickly. San Francisco, Baltimore leading the way, 17 out of 100 lineups each. Boston, LA, Cleveland, Oakland, whatever, down here with some San Diego and everything else. This is how you set this optimizer up. You scroll through your lineups and you look, there's 4 Giants there, 4 Dodgers there, and these are all 4x1s. 4 Indians there, 4 Diamondbacks. This is all 4x1. Occasionally you'll see some stuff pop in there like this. 2 Dodgers, so it kind of mixes and matches around. Occasionally you'll see other stuff pop in if I could find one there. 4 Dodgers, 2 Orioles. It's a 4x2 stack. There was a 4x3 or even a 4x4 in here that the optimizer gave me, but you can see a smattering of big stacks, some non-stack. This is how you're going to play on FanDuel. It works. You come over to Draftkings, it's different. On Draftkings, I'm going to set things up. You can see all of my little smiley faces and stuff on the same guys, but I use a different stacking method on Draftkings. Instead of the controlled stacking method, I use the new stacking method. I want to use big 5 stacks on most slates, and I want 5 by random, 5 by 2, 5 by 3s. I give different weights to each category. I randomly select my teams, but notice I'm not using all of my teams, right? And I'm controlling the weight, 6% Oakland, 18% San Francisco. I like San Francisco more than Oakland yesterday, so I had more San Francisco stacks. Over on the right side, you'll find some of the chalkier Dodgers and stuff like that come up in my attempt to get these guys into my stacks. And now when I scroll down to the bottom of the lineup, the same thing works. I've got a ton of San Francisco, LA, Baltimore, etc., but I can see my stacks in this method. Big stack, San Francisco, Baltimore, LA, small stack, LA, San Diego, Boston type stuff. And with the colors, I can chase them. There's a 5x2 Cleveland Indians, Oakland stack. There's a 5 Giant stack, and it looks like just an X, 5x1. There's 5x2 with Padres again. There's what? 4 5x2 Cleveland Indians. 5x2 Cleveland Indians again. This time 5 Orioles and 2 Indians versus 5 Angels and 2 Indians. So I'm covering bases on the teams that I like. What I'm doing with these big numbers here is I'm jacking up my one-offs. My one-off here, there's a 5x3. Another 5x3. 5x2 with a one-off in Piscotty. I would prefer a bigger bat than Piscotty. Peraza down here, 5x3. Give me these 5x2s again. They're more fun to watch. Nunez, my BVP guy, pops in as a one-off. If he hits a home run, I'm set up strong as long as these other 2 teams go off. Same thing here, but with a one-off of Mookie Betts. Same thing here with a one-off of Fernando Tatis. This is how you set this optimizer up to control your stacks and win these tournaments. You need to be stacking in a correlated sport like MLB. If this is the type of coaching you want, you've got to get in here to dfsarmy.com. I can show you how to set these things up. I give videos to guys all the time. Link in the bottom down there. Coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P. Like, subscribe the video down below. Ring the notification bell so new videos drop to your phone each and every time. Hope this helps you. Hope this helps you set up for tonight a winning DFS MLB night. Happy Friday. We'll see you next week, guys. Have a good one.